Morning, everyone. This is Nate Strager with LrS&x International. Here today with a very special guest. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him forever. He's been in the business forever. Manages a brokerage here in Las Vegas. I'm here with Tony Medina with Town Square Mortgage. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm excited. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We do these early. I've known you for a long time through many different good friends, good business, great loan officer, super knowledgeable. So I appreciate you being here today. You were actually the first person that I contacted when I started doing podcasts and things like that, because you're so knowledgeable, and in dealing with you for so many years, you're so good with buyers. You're very patient. I remember being on a couple calls and I was like, just tell him this. And he was like, no, it's okay.
I got it.
I'm going to go slow. I'm going to break. And for me, it's like, hey, get to the bullet points, but you're so patient. And I always appreciated that about you in dealing with my buyers and things like that. So,
and I think we have a perfect record.
We do.
Close every single file that we've issued a pre-approval letter on.
But I think that's because you're so diligent about the upfront work.
Correct.
And I think that's what's so important. So today, I wanted to pick your brain and your knowledge, because you have extensive knowledge. You've been in the business. You run an entire brokerage here. It's not yours, but you're the head of it here. And with having that that knowledge, that just, you know, the years of experience, and that's why, you know, you're in turn running it. So today I want to talk about how worth it is it to buy or invest during the economic recession. So you've been in the business how many years?
Over 30 years.
Over 30 years. So, man, that's a long time. So
yeah.
30 years.
1990.
I think I was making $4.25 an hour as a bag boy at Albertsons.
Yeah, well, the first year I started doing mortgages, that's probably what I was making.
Really? All right. So you were in the business through the good times, through the bad, the roller coaster of real estate. I try to explain to people, look, don't freak out. You know, the market is dropping or it's going up. It's real estate. It's a roller coaster. Within a month, it could change so drastically, right? So what's the difference you see between when everything happened in 07, 08 and everything dropped to where now they say it's a recession? What's the differences that you see?
So before I get to that, I want to make a comment. A lot of people look at owning a home as an investment.
Okay.
And in part, it is. But you have to live somewhere.
Right.
Right? And to me, I bought my first house when I was 19, and it's always been my sanctuary. That's where, after a hard working day, that's where I go. Right? And that's where I want to spend time and build memories with my family. So there's when I make a decision to own a home, I'm also looking for the comfort and all the other benefits outside of investing. Long term, for most people, buying a home is the best investment ever.
Absolutely.
Right. So your question about what's different between 2008 and now, back in 2008, the lending practices were very relaxed, very easy for anybody to buy a home without really underwriting their ability to repay those mortgages. And then the programs that were available, most of them, because the rates were, I don't know, somewhere around 7%. So you would get a teaser rate for the first 2, 3, 5 years. And when that adjusted, your payment went up $500-700, and people would get a payment shock. That is not today. That's not today's market. The lending programs are very common sense, and you really got to qualify for the mortgage that you're applying for.
Right. No, I completely agree. I remember back then they had negative amortized loans, and we just thought things were going to keep going up and up. And I had buyers that like worked at Walmart, and I go, are you sure you can afford this? Like, you don't want to be house poor where you can't go to the movies or you can't take a vacation. Yeah, don't worry. I have my brothers and my mom, blah, blah, blah. I said, look, I don't want you to get in over your head, you know? And I think people get caught up with buying the biggest house and da-da-da. Just do what you can. Do what you can. Start small and build from there. It's okay to move up every 2 or 3 years. You know, don't get caught up in trying to keep up with the Joneses.
Yeah, and you get that question often, right? Is the market going to crash like in 2008?
Right.
And my answer to that is the circumstances are different.
Completely.
Back then, people didn't have equity. Right now, if you lose your job or something happens, you got to move. Something changes in your life dramatically where you need to sell your house. Most people will get good money still.
And I think that's why we don't see a lot of short sales or foreclosures.
Right.
Because even if something does happen, you have equity. The chances are you have good equity. I still have investors that call me and say, you know, find me the deal. Everybody, you know, find me the deal, a good steal. And I go, it's not out there, because I think there's only like 5 foreclosures, 6 short sales in all Las Vegas. And you're right. You're absolutely right. So the majority of your business, is it first-time home buyers? Is it investors? Is it jumbo loans now? Because prices have went up. I'm seeing, obviously I work at Luxury Estates International here in Vegas. I got my license now in California. I worked for Coldwell Banker West out there, and they deal with a lot of the Padres. Thank you. 5 months of school. I can't remember last time I was in real estate school. Can you imagine going back to being a loan officer and being back at school? You'd be like, oh my God.
Too humble.
Oh man. Yeah. So anyways, now there's a lot of like $1 million plus. I remember back then, $1 million home was whoa, $1 million. Now it's more and more common.
Well, your conventional loan maximum loan limit went up to $726,000.
Which, wow, I remember it was in the twos.
That was a jumbo, last year.
So what's the majority of the loans that are being dropped on your desk?
Yeah. So interestingly, last year, because of the market circumstances and COVID and how prices went up and how competitive the market was, I would say about 90% of my customers were repeat buyers. They were moving up.
Oh, wow.
They were selling their home, cashing out a good amount of money to be able to put down on the next one. So our family, our database, all of our clients we've done business in the past, we're calling back, hey, I'm doing this. The first-time home buyer, it was very difficult. If you had your down payment, it was hard to compete because you found a home,
right.
You loved the home, there were 22 other offers.
You gotta pay over.
And you gotta pay over.
Right.
And forget about asking for closing because you gotta pay over, right? So those people were like priced out of the market. It was very difficult. In today's market, I think out of the last 5 deals that I've done, 3 of them have come in with no money out of pocket. They put a deposit to open escrow and they're getting that back. Just because there's more inventory, sellers that really need to sell,
right.
And with a good agent like you,
right.
People could find opportunities. So we're getting a lot more first-time home buyers. So traditionally, that's where the bulk of my business would come from. And I have I feel really good. I feel that it's a purpose in life to help people that are first-time home buyers, because they have all these questions and they've been to other places with bad experiences, and I just enjoy working with them.
I was just getting ready to say that it's so easy now to become a realtor or a loan officer, right? You just kind of pass your test, you pay your fees, and that's it. So I feel the same joy and pride of helping someone that works so hard and puts away every dollar to help them buy that house for their family. I can't tell how many times we have families, and it's like, man, it's so nice to see 3 kids and a hard-working blue-collar family, and it's important to lead them in the right direction and explain to them, hey, you don't need this house. You can get by with this, because remember, you got to do the quinceañera, you got to buy clothes and da-da-da. You don't want to be scrimping and scraping because you have this big mortgage payment. So it's really important to live within your means and to give them good direction and good, not so much advice, but good just knowledge of, you've been in the business 30 years. I've been in the business almost 20 years. We've been through the ups and the downs. So in saying that, where do you think, and nobody has a crystal ball, but where do you think the market is going in 2023?
I feel that the interest rates are going to start levering down.
Okay.
Historically, if you look at the last 10 years or so, you would probably be an average rate of around 5%.
Okay.
Right? The 3% rates, a 2.5% rate, that was because of the pandemic, and we hope that doesn't happen again for another 100 years, right?
That's not normal, right?
It's not normal, so it's not normal to have those kind of rates. We've seen them go down prior to the pandemic in the low 4s, right? But if you have anywhere between 5 and 5.5 that's still a good interest rate. The Feds, it's interesting because we have this inflation issue, and the language that the Feds uses, it impacts the market, and the interest rates are driven by that market. And when there's bad news or anything that feels like, oh man, things are looking bad, then the rates, stay up or go up.
Right.
But right now, the last couple of meetings, they've kind of eased it off on that, and you've seen the rates come down. So I feel, and I'm starting to get a lot more calls from people, hey, we're holding off, we're ready.
Right.
And I think when you start talking to buyers, they see that they could take advantage of this market, because everybody says, or a lot of people say, hey, the market's going to crash. And then we talked about that. I don't think that's going to be the case, right? So even if the prices get reduced, I bought my first house when I was 19. I'm 40 years old. I was young. So, looking at the value of the prices for the last 20, 30 years, we're here, and we started here. And somewhere in the middle, they've gone down, but eventually, because of inflation and just life, the value is going to go up. So I think we're starting to see more buyers coming to the market, realizing that they could capitalize on the opportunities, and the rates are going to be more stable in that next couple of months. So we're going to start seeing the market get better.
I think I try to explain to people, look, now's the perfect time. Don't wait for it to switch and then you're jumping in late. You're able to get the seller to pay for your closing costs, pay for your buy down.
Correct.
And get a good...
This is a very common program right now.
Yeah, and now, people have to realize you can work at McDonald's and make $18 an hour.
Correct.
So, wages have went up. I mean, it's $1.50 for an apple now. Things are just up, and they're not going to go back down. This isn't the 70s or 80s or 90s anymore. It's, inflation is up, but I mean, they're not going to stop charging more for that apple, or, wages aren't going to come down. So I think it's just, we're going to have to get used to things just being up.
Yeah, there's a couple of stories like I tell my team. One is about our job in the process, mm-hmm. and when you have a family, because it's very important to work with the right people, right. with the right agent, with the right loan officer that are knowledgeable, respectful, that they understand the market and all of that. I remember having this meeting, and I told my agents, when you issue a pre-approval letter, if you can't get that deal closed, I want you to call the family, bring their kids, 10, 11 years old, and you tell them, you look at them in the eye and you say, I screwed up, you're not going to get your own room.
Right.
Okay? And, a couple of them started crying, because that's what it's about, right?
Right.
That's reality.
Right.
It's not just business. We're right. business people, but that's what we have. And then the other thing, what was the question again?
Where do you see the market heading in 2023? I mean, but we were talking about the market, and then we were talking about, I'm having a brain fart. We were talking about the market, and
I just wanted to throw that in there because
yeah.
I think that was important. Like I said before, you have to live somewhere. Oh, this was the other story that I was going to say. I remember this family. They came in one day, and they didn't have enough funds to buy the house, so they needed a down payment assistance program. And interestingly, right now, that down payment assistance program, the interest rate is about the same, or has been a little bit lower than normal rates.
Oh, that's great.
Back then, and normally, it was about a 1% higher. So I gave them a side-by-side comparison and say, if you have your own down payment, this is what you'll be. Your payment will be $150 less. And remember, the guy said, listen, I don't care. I need to move. I need to own a home, because my kid, where I live, there's a little gang of kids, and they're like harassing my son. Right? And I just got to get out of here. And I've heard that story, and it's personal, because it's no longer about business. People need to own their own home, and statistically, people and children that grow up in a home where they own the property, and I'm sure you've read the reports, right? They have better grades in school. They tend to do better throughout their life, and there's just a lot of benefits to that.
Well, and I think that's why I was saying earlier, you're so passionate about helping buyers, you know, and I agree with you. You know, sometimes, unfortunately, we become a product of our environment.
Correct.
And
Yes.
that's really sad. You know, that's a whole nother topic we could sit down. But yeah, I mean, either you have the drive, but if that's what's going on around you, then that's all that you know, and that's unfortunate. Do you lend in other states other than Nevada?
We do. I focus just on Nevada myself.
Okay. Have you heard that there's a difference? Like, for instance, and still in Southern California, there's still a shortage of homes, which is crazy. And here in Vegas, they're just sitting, right?
I've seen that in other markets.
And I think that just goes to show it's different between here and like Tulsa or Alabama or New York or Miami or Seattle, you know?
And I've had this conversation with some customers because they listen to the news and they're telling me some of the national news. Right. And a lot of them don't understand that our local market, it is different.
Right.
So it's better when you talk to a professional like yourself in the real estate side, that it's up to what's going on here.
Yeah, and I've had buyers, I tell them the way it is. Look, this is what it is
here,
and they don't want to hear it. They'll go with someone else, and later they'll say, man, I really got screwed, you know? So do you see us going into an economic recession right now, or do you feel it's just kind of fluff?
I think we're due for recession.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the ingredients of a recession are there. I'm not fearful or as concerned, even at a personal level, right? I'm still investing, I'm still making, I got my savings and all of that.
Right.
I feel that there's a strong possibility of doing that, of that happening. I just don't see something catastrophic, something like everybody's going to lose their homes or anything like that.
I don't either. I think we've learned from the past.
Correct.
And I think there's better regulations now.
Correct.
And I think people need to understand that. They look at the history, they go, oh, history always repeats itself. Well, in this case, history happened, but we've corrected it. And real estate will always continue. Will always continue.
Yeah, like when the pandemic hit and people couldn't make their payments, government stepped in and banks, and they worked out programs that, I don't know how that works out for the banks, but we avoid all those foreclosures that happened in 2008, 7 and 8. So I guess we did learn from that.
And I was just going to say, when that happened, I was dealing with a lot of banks and asset companies, and they were just foreclosing. Now, 99.9% of the time, they're doing workouts.
Correct.
So how worth it is it to buy during an economic recession, and why?
So I've got some money put away for investing in 2023. I think you're going to see a lot of opportunities in businesses.
Okay.
I know businesses that went out, so you could get good opportunities on that. Stocks are down, right? So I'm working with a financial planner just for the right timing on that.
Okay.
Because they're down eventually, with the hopes that they'll go up to some of the levels that were a year ago. So there's opportunities in stocks. Crypto will hopefully bounce back. But in real estate specifically, there's people that have to sell.
Right.
And because they have so much equity,
right,
they could afford to provide a good opportunity to buyers and investors. I'm closing on an investment home today. I'm getting a really, really good deal because their seller is in a hardship.
In a tight spot.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, is it better to buy as an investor or a first-time home buyer? But it's best to invest, period. Right. People, unfortunately, people are in a tight spot, and but I think you're helping them because now they can move on.
Correct.
You are able to get a better deal, but at least now their home's not sitting for another 3 more months, and they're wondering, where am I going to get the money? Because like you said, there is equity in their home, right?
And as far as investing, to me, we have to diversify. First of all, and that's what I tell my kids. I know this is one of the questions here. First of all, you got to have an emergency fund.
Right.
That's the first thing you want to do. You want to start saving for retirement.
Right.
Right. And then you go into all the other investment avenues, right? Real estate, what I like about real estate is you're always going to have something that's worth it.
Right.
That's worth something.
Right.
And as an investor, if the market comes down, you're not forced to sell during that market.
Right.
When the market goes up, if you want to sell, you could sell and cash out. But I think the idea to me, one of my financial plan and my kids is, you know, you retire, you own 10, 20 homes, you got passive income.
Yep.
Right? So you could live off just the income, and if you want to sell it and go to Dubai, travel the world, do whatever you want and spend all of your money, you can. But if you don't want to, you could pass that along to your children.
For sure. What do you think is the best investment during economic recession, whether it be real estate, stocks, crypto now, NFTs? There's so many different options. What do you think is the best investment during a recession? Is it real estate?
So, yes, I would say the best one to me would be real estate.
Okay.
In the market we're in right now. But like I said, I still want to diversify it a little bit. If I have X amount of dollars to invest and I got to take a portion of it, a small portion will be into stocks, a small portion would be into crypto, and the biggest portion would be into real estate.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all your knowledge. You've been in the business 30 years, but let people know something personal, something that nobody knows about you.
I like to write.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
I write. I'm writing 2 books.
I had no idea.
That was a question, right?
Yeah, but I had no idea.
People don't know. I have a personal development program that I'm working on. I'm hoping to roll that out in the next 4 months. I'm also developing 2 other businesses. I own 4 businesses.
Okay.
The mortgage site.
Okay.
I have a marketing company that I'm developing right now. I have a virtual assistance company because that's part of the trend in our business, right? You could, it's so much cost effective to have labor offshore and good quality.
Yep.
And then the other business, and not a lot of people know, is that I develop technology for the real estate industry.
Oh,
I develop apps for the lenders, and I'm almost really close. Next couple of months, I'll be able to roll that out.
And I think it's important to know that, you know, you have been in the business for a while, you've been grinding. It doesn't happen overnight. So you have to start somewhere. So even if you are in a 9-to-5 and you have dreams of aspirations of being an entrepreneur or getting into real estate or just investing in a business or starting your own business, you have to start somewhere and you have to fail.
Correct.
You have to fail multiple times. You're not going to be successful. So how can people find you?
You could go to my website, www.teammedina.com, or call me, 702-591-7725.
Well, I appreciate you being here. A lot of insight. Didn't know you were a writer, so we'll talk about that later. And I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
All right, thanks so much.